Well, let's discuss preparation. Preparation is so important if you're going to make a good, consistent swing. If you're going to build a solid house, you have to have a solid foundation, and so it is with the golf swing. I see most people's problems happen at address. In other words, if we can get them set up to the ball correctly, it allows them to make a good swing. If you have a poor address position, which consists of your grip, your posture, your alignment, and your ball position, if those things are out, you're very unlikely to make a good swing. And the reason is that the swing consists of balance. Remember, we're facing a stationary ball. We have to make the movement really from a very stationary position at address. Now, if we're out of balance, we're out of position, we're going to have to make compensations. And the more compensations you make, the more inconsistent you're going to be. It's just as simple as that. Now, what does a preparation consist of? Well, there's really 4 key areas. One is your grip, how you position your hands on the club, because remember, your hands really control ultimately where the club face is when you make contact with the ball. So if we have a poor grip, it doesn't allow us to A, get the club face square, but B, it also doesn't allow the power to work itself through the arms and hands down into the club head. So we've got to get our hands positioned properly on the club. That's all important. The second thing we've got to do, we've got to get our posture right. The way we angle our body really determines how the body moves during the swing. You know, we've got a big arc to swing the club through. And also, we've got to create a lot of power. Now, if our body's out of position or out of balance, it's very tough to make this repetitive swing. We've got to coil, we've got to wind. In actual fact, these angles that we create for ourselves at address are ones that we have to try to maintain all through the swing, certainly up to impact. If our angles are changing, the club is moving out of position. If the club moves out of position, we've now got to compensate once again. So we're trying to eliminate compensations. The third aspect really to preparation is really talking about alignment, the way we aim. First of all, the club face, getting the club aimed at our target, and secondly, our body. That consists of our toe line, knee line, hip line, shoulder line, and also eye line. Getting these all parallel to our target line is absolutely vital if we're going to hit the ball to our target. Once again, if I'm aiming incorrectly, I've got to make compensations in order to get that club face square at impact. And everything we're doing is to get the club face square at impact, traveling at maximum speed down our target line. Now, the final aspect of preparation really is the ball position, where we position the ball in our stance. If we position it back on one swing and then forward on another, obviously we're not going to hit the ball consistently. And you're going to see consistency is what we're looking for. Consistency is what everybody's looking for. If we're going to hit an iron in a consistent manner, we have to put it in such a position that, hey, we hit down on the ball. We're squeezing the ball off the turf. If we're going to hit a driver consistently, we've got to put the ball forward in our stance where we can actually sweep the ball off the tee. So all these elements are so important to make a good swing. If we can get this aspect right where we have control over it, remember, we don't have control over the rest of our swing because it's in actual fact in motion. But we have control over our address position. And if we can get set up to the ball correctly, prepare ourselves to hit the ball, we've got a good chance of making that consistent, repeating swing. Ben Hogan once made the statement that good golf begins with a good grip, and I'm a firm believer of that. The way you position your hands on the club determines the way the club head comes back to the ball. So many golfers have poor grips that they have poor fundamentals in their swing as a result. So very important to get your hands positioned correctly on the club. What I see generally with most golfers is they grip the club way too much up in the palm. As a consequence, they grip it very tight, their tension is wrong, they create a lot of tension up through the arms and the shoulders, and it doesn't allow them to swing the club smoothly. Furthermore, if you have the club up in the palm, as many golfers do, I would say probably around the world, maybe 75 to 80% of golfers have this problem, it doesn't allow them to really use their wrist correctly in the swing. If you want to get good wrist action where you can then transfer the power from your body through your arms and wrists into the club, well, you've got to position your hands correctly. Remember, your hands control where the club face is when you make contact with the ball. So what we see generally with so many golfers, we see what we term a palmy grip, also a very weak grip. In other words, that means the hands are too far round to the left on the club. For those of you that are right-handed, you can picture that. The hands around here in this fashion here, we work them around in a sort of a counterclockwise fashion, and that would be termed a weak grip. If we work the hands around this way in a clockwise fashion to an exaggerated extent, that's termed a strong grip. What we're trying to get for most players is what we term a neutral grip. Okay, getting a neutral position allows the club face to come back squarely to the ball. Now, there are basically three types of grips. The conventional grip is called the Varden grip or the overlap grip, whereby the little finger of the right hand, for right-handers, fits just on top of the knuckle, the index finger of the left hand. That joins those two together. There's the interlocking grip, where the little finger joins in with the index finger to keep the hands working as a unit. And then finally, for some players, a weaker player, a player with not much strength or flexibility, we even suggest what they term the baseball or the double-handed grip. The most important thing is that the hands work together as a unit and are parallel on the club with one another. We don't want one hand here and one hand here, or vice versa, one hand here and one hand here. We want to try to get the hands matching. It's a parallel situation we're trying to create, where the left hand, where we see a couple of knuckles on the left hand, the right hand, they sort of match one another, and I'm now in a position where I feel I'm in a nice relaxed position to be able to swing the club. So we've got to get the hands positioned correctly on the club to allow the club head to get squarely back to the ball on contact.